Time now to get the latest trends in dive retailing, travel, and training with Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Now, here's your host, Scuba Radio's Greg the Dive Master.
That is me. This is Level Up, the official podcast for Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. And for this issue, man, I'll tell you what, we got a lot to cover, but we got a few things we got to take care of first because
that's right.
It's been a crazy last week or so for the dive industry. Willie Klein with me from Scuba Diving Industry Magazine to help out. Willie, you agree with me, obviously.
Yeah, it's a sad moment when we lose great people, and especially in our industry. And we lost two really great ones in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put up a slide here and cover my photo while we're chatting, but I'd like to invite Neil to take the lead on the first chit chat about Jerry Beatty.
Yeah.
And then Catherine and Carlos, you can chime in on Michael or anybody as well, and then take a few minutes and let's honor him.
Absolutely. Well, we got the dive god, Neil Watson. He was with me this past Saturday, which, by the way, we did Scuba Radio live as usual, and it was one of the hardest shows that I've had to do, but I just felt it was necessary. It wasn't even 48 hours later, once we learned that Jerry Beatty had passed, and and it was a tough show for me to do, but thank God I had the dive god to lean on. It was a rough one to do, but we just got the crew together, and a lot of our friends that are here today and just talked about what Jerry meant to us and shared some of the adventures we had over the years. And yeah, I mean, you go so far back with him. You share a birthday with him, Neil. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Actually, Jerry was a sales rep for me before he went to work for Dive Training, and literally had a key to my house and stayed at my home when he was in the area. And like I say, we shared birthdays 10 years apart. He was 10 years younger. But we both look forward to celebrating our birthdays together. If we couldn't do it together, we would certainly have a toast over the phone. Right. But I think the highlight of our birthdays was my 70th and Jerry's 60th, and we figured, well, we got to do a blowout. So we decided to do a joint birthday party at my house. Mm-hmm. So we started inviting our closest friends. And of course, Greg was there.
Yeah.
A lot of you folks, and our closest friends turned into roughly 300 people.
Yeah. Right. I'm still suffering from PTSD from that party. It was a crazy one, and it kind of comes back in waves. But it was a monumental event, and but Jerry was just that kind of guy. You could just hang with him. He could drink like a fish. He was one of the best representatives in the dive industry when it came to just going to a show and just every time you're around him, you'd just have an amazing time. Right, Neil?
Yeah, I'm bigger than life. And you know what? I can't think in the 35 or 40 years that I knew Jerry, one person that said a bad thing about him. I mean, the guy was just gold. He would do anything for anybody. And just bigger than life. I think he knew more people than anybody in the diving industry.
Well, I mean,
true. Around the world, from being a rep to then being with Dive Training. Actually, when Jerry was working for me as a rep, he called me and he said, I was approached by this new magazine, Dive Training, to go to work for him. What do you think? And I knew Mark Young and Gary Ward, and I said, dude, don't miss this chance. You'll be amazing, and the publication is outstanding. And God bless you. It's been great working together, but we'll be working together anyhow because I'm an advertiser in the magazine. Mm-hmm. But Jerry, well, I'm going to miss the guy. I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, we all are. And like you said, Neil, everybody in the industry knew Jerry. He was my go-to guy. Whenever I had a question about, hey, do you know this guy or this company, this destination? He'd been around the world. He just knew everybody backwards and forwards.
Sure did.
And I'm going to miss him. And he's just fun to hang with. He was such a good friend, too.
People would come to me and say, hey, Neil, I'm thinking about diving in Tierra del Fuego. Who do you know?
Right.
And I said, nobody, but I know somebody that does.
Right.
I'll get back to you. And it would be Jerry. I
Hmm.
mean, this guy, he knew everybody at every destination and would help anybody in the world at the drop of a hat. I
Yeah.
mean, kudos to a wonderful guy and a legend and pioneer. And God knows I'm going to miss him.
Yeah. Well, it's only been, it hadn't even been a week. And I did scuba radio this week. It was really rough. It was therapy for me and my crew that had seen and hung with Jerry for the last 20 years. I mean, he was paramount in supporting scuba radio in the very beginning of doing our show, where here we are 28 years later. And I just miss him dearly. And the only, I don't, this isn't a great thing, but I mean, we're a month away from DEMA, and immediately there was chatter once news got out what had happened that we ought to use the opportunity to get all our diving friends together and celebrate Jerry accordingly, and get the team together and reflect. And there's some really cool things in plan for Thursday, I believe, at the DEMA show. And Catherine Castle is with us, and Catherine's been paramount in putting this together. Catherine, I'll hand it off to you. You want to say a few words and talk about that plan for the DEMA show?
I'd be happy to. Mark your calendars for Thursday, the 13th of November, and we will gather at the Rosen Center. I don't have a room assignment yet, but there'll be signs from 6:30 to 8:30. And those of you industry folks that knew Jerry outside of a show floor probably would remember the rum and reggae batik shirts that he wore, and he had a full collection of Hawaiian shirts and other shirts from tropical vacations and tropical trips that he took. So if you want to wear what would Jerry wear to his memorial shirt, pick something really flowery and outlandish.
He had
And
two looks.
I know he would enjoy that.
Right. He had two looks when
Yes.
he was working the show at DEMA or any of the other dive shows. He would be wearing a suit and a jacket and the whole thing, looking
Yeah.
all formal and stuff. And then as soon as he got that off, he had his Hawaiian flower, his shirt going, and he looked like your typical cheesy Caribbean tourist. And I loved
Perfect.
And
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Probably had it
and-
on underneath.
Right.
And anyone who has photos of Jerry that they would like to share for a memorial slideshow can send that to me by way of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, and I'll be happy to see that your contribution gets included.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to wear a Hawaiian shirt on Thursday all day for DEMA.
Yeah, I was just going to make a challenge to the whole industry that we all wear Hawaiian shirts on Thursday at the show.
Yeah.
That would be a great tribute to him. If we
Absolutely.
can't make the event, at least it's a nice way of recognizing him. And I think we should need to spread the word. And we're going to try to do it through the magazine. Talk
Mhm.
about Jerry's Thursday. We're going to call it.
Yeah. And you know
And
what?
I might also add, I know we're going to have a quick tribute to Michael Menduno as
Mhm.
well. So I'm going to throw the gauntlet. If you knew Michael, you knew his socks. So if you have crazy socks that you can add to your Jerry Beatty crazy shirt, add the Michael Menduno socks, and you'll have the memorial covered.
Well, there you go. Crazy
cool.
shirt, crazy sock
great.
day will be Thursday, maybe,
So
at the DEMA
speak-
show. Yeah.
Speaking of Mike, Carlos, you knew him quite well, right?
Well, yes. I have a few things that I want to remember about Michael. And one is his laugher, which echo the room whenever you talk to him. And the other one is he was like a child. He always sparked his eyes with curiosity every time that you talk to him about whatever science diving. And but his true passion, his true north was diving. To Michael, diving was a convergence of science, spirit, and serenity. And let me tell you, in his own words, it's got human spirit, the spirit to explore. It got zen, those moments where you're just in the zone, on the water. It got science, it got technology, certainly encompasses all these aspects. And that's Michael's word. And the other thing that I can tell you is that His journey was incredible. He did a lot of stuff. Michael's path to journalism was winding, marked with courage and reinvention. He also worked with the Senator Stephen in Washington, D.C., exploring the intersection between technology and policy. He joined Timeshare, a pioneer cloud computer, uh, and then on a citizen science project at the University of Stanford, he discovered diving beyond recreational diving, and then he did a piece of writing that nobody wants to publish it. So, after being rejected by the mainstream magazine, Ken Lois from Discovery Diving in California published his history. The first article inspired him to create a newsletter to discuss unconventional diving practice and share insight with the diving community. From
That's
that leap of faith, Aquacorp was born. So Aquacorp wasn't just a publication; it was a movement. Michael saw the rise of technical diving as a revolution, as disruptive technology reshaping underwater exploration. He devoted himself entirely, saying, in his own words, it seems like the most important thing in the world to me at that time.
That's
And
beautiful.
Yeah.
Very
those,
nice.
yeah, and those who following, it was.
That's amazing. Thank
So,
you.
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
And the
Thank you for
fact,
just one more thing.
one more thing, go ahead.
Just one more thing. Yeah, Michael was a wild Mustang, and he always laughed to me. He owed me a beer, and my son, who plays the battery, the drums, he wants to play with him, but
Right.
sadly, no longer.
Yeah, he was a
And he was a
musician. I saw
very,
that
very good friend. Yeah.
on Facebook, and I didn't hang with Michael too much because he kind of was from the tech diving world a little bit more
Yeah,
outside of
same here.
my circle of friends, and Jerry was a little bit more industry and recreational,
Right.
but man, you see all the posts on Facebook and stuff. He had a huge impact on a lot of people in the dive industry. So our hearts
Sure
go
did.
out to his family and friends as well. So it has been a tough week
Yes.
for the
So
dive industry.
we got a lot to cover today, and I appreciate the time we spent. And I know that we probably could spend the entire show talking about both these huge personalities because they were
Yeah.
larger than life. So honor them both Thursday at the Demas Show. Crazy socks for Mike and Michael, and Hawaiian shirt for Jerry, because I can tell you our whole staff will certainly be honoring them in that way.
Sure.
So let's get the show on the road, as they say.
The show
Greg?
must go on. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
How about that?
Yeah,
And
Britain.
Britain is up first because we got
Yes.
to preview the Dema show, which
Right.
here we're coming down to the wire. Britain, what do you got? What are you guys planning for the big event here in about a month?
That's right. So we are about 34 days away from the Dema show. Our booth is going to be number 935, and we're actually taking marketing minutes on the road. So we're very, very excited to invite people to come onto the show, talk about their latest dive innovations, destinations, or retail success stories. So if you guys are interested, if there is anyone interested out there, email me at britain@scubadivingindustry.com just to schedule in your spot to get that locked in, and we'll take the rest. We'll take it from there. We also have our big DEMA issue dropping on October 27th, and it's not too late to secure your ad and reach every attendee before the show. Ad space deadline is October 20th, but again, if you can get art to us before then, we'll take the rest from there. But Greg, that's all I got.
That's all you got. All right. What about
Okay.
from the publisher, Willie? That's your department.
All I got to say is, thank you to all of our writers. You guys have made the magazine what it is. It's not us. The only reason we're able to sell advertising and pay Britain is because of you all and what you're doing and the writing you're doing. So thank you for the incredible contributions, because this is really a community effort and we appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you again in front of the whole world for everything you and all the other writers have done. So on that note, I think we should zoom back over across the Atlantic to our first writer this month.
Yeah, Catherine Castle. She's all wet today. So I can't really tell from the video, but she looks great as always. And I was like,
She said
"Hey,
she was just scuba diving and came
That's
right out of
right.
the water and immediately sat down.
She's trying to just work
Sadly,
the system
yeah,
accordingly
thanks
as
for
a
covering
diver."
for me, guys. I
Yeah,
I just went out for a quick walk and got caught in an Azorian shower. So
right.
as we would say in the Azores, I'm fresh. I'm
Okay.
fresh.
All right. Well,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
works
So
in Portugal, I
yeah,
guess, and that works for
yeah.
us. But the latest issue of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, page 24, how to create a money-making marketing strategy. And so the question we have for you today, Catherine, is what is a marketing map? Whether you're
Well,
wet or not.
right. I'm going to start by asking our panel a question. How many of you, when you first started out in the diving industry, knew exactly what you were doing? Raise your hand.
I still don't. So,
I see no hands in the air. That's exactly right. So,
okay.
there are those of you that are watching and listening. We are your cautionary tale. Don't do what we did. Don't be like us. Do better. And that starts with having a plan. And you need to map out your way to the money using marketing tactics, coming up with a marketing budget, and learning how to connect with the people that want to pay you for that thing you do. So, this is actually one of my sessions that I'll be giving at the DEMA show, and it's free to all DEMA attendees. It takes place Tuesday, the 11th of November at 1 p.m. And you can come and spend nearly an hour with me, and I'll actually walk you through all of the steps to create your marketing map. And the great thing about it is X is the target. So we're going to solve for X. We're going to put that on the map and we're going to push you towards the goal of reaching your customer and making money. But the really great thing is once you have this formula, it's rinse and repeat. You can do it again and again and again to make more and more money. And you can target different audiences with the same formula and get even better results.
Wow. Great.
Mhm.
Great
That's the
article.
idea.
I love this
Now,
series. I
now
love
you
this
tell
series.
me.
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly.
60 years late.
I love this series you've been doing, Catherine. I think this is like this. Literally, we titled these types of articles "Business EDU." But it really is an education because our industry, can borrow a lot from the business world and should. And just because we're diving, we're not unique in that regard. And I love the fact you're applying these real basic business principles, and some are quite advanced principles to diving. And I think they're just done so well. Before we
Yeah.
before we move on to our next speaker, I have to acknowledge the cover this month of our issue was shot on film. Now for Britain, because he's never heard of such a thing, it's
Right.
actually it's actually the way we used to shoot pictures underwater. It was shot on film in 1996 in Thailand by Al Hornsby, and Al and Dan and I were in a conversation with a common client we were working with, and this particular manufacturer misunderstood what an instructor said once to their daughter in training that led to an article he wrote last month and led to partly of what Dan wrote this month. So I want to bring that up. That it's amazing. Al's article, and they both have a really great symbiotic relationship with the articles. They don't even try to coordinate, but many times they work together. In this case, last month was an actually a misinterpretation of what was said by the instructor, which comes directly into what Dan's article is about when it deals with safety stops. So I just wanted to set that up first. So go ahead, Greg.
All
Introduce our
right.
next one.
Well, that would be Dan Orr we're talking about, of course. And on page 7, the article is to stop or not to stop. That is the question. And the question is, when is it appropriate to skip a safety stop, Dan?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an issue. I mean, I do these webinars on diving safety topics, and almost every one of them, there's a question about safety stops. What happens if I don't have enough air to complete my safety stop? What happens if I have to rescue somebody and I miss my safety stop? And then, as William was talking about, the person we were dealing with was talking about missing the safety stops. And there are situations where you need to. In fact, it actually is a safety stop. It is not a mandatory stop, but it's something we should make because back in the 1990s, a woman named Donna Uguccione was able to demonstrate that people who did a safety stop had a lower amount of intravascular bubbles as compared to people who didn't do a safety stop. So that really brought back the fact that it really is something people should do. But if you have an emergency where you're running out of breathing gas, you have an emergency where you need to get to the surface because you're helping in a rescue or some other situation, you can skip that safety stop because, again, it is a safety stop.
Right. If you run out of air, it's not going to be very safe.
Oh,
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bigger problem than the beds, by the way.
It
Good
would
point. Good point indeed.
That's a great article, Dan, and thanks for tackling that, because I think sometimes we always say, because every diver that goes to a resort anywhere on the planet, they don't say it's optional. It's like everybody has to stop 15 feet, and even that was kind of what the dovetailed into what Al wrote about was that, instructors and dive staff has to mind their words because it is a suggested safety stop. It's not required.
Yeah, because there are people who really think that it is a mandatory
Yes.
stop. Everybody has to do it on every occasion. And it's a good thing to do, of course. But if there's an emergency going on, you don't want to risk your life just to do a safety stop.
So, and let's do a quick poll. Raise your hand if you've seen a diver at a safety stop on somebody else's alternate air.
Oh, yeah.
Almost everybody.
Yeah.
Again, that's the psychology, the mentality. They'd rather put themselves in a potentially life-threatening situation than just surface.
Yeah.
Right. Well, good stuff as always, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Now we go from the beautiful western slope of the Grand Teton Mountains, because I was so fortunate to actually be able to see where Dan lives and eat his food. Betty's food actually was fantastic. And then we went to the giant park, the Grand Tetons Park, and then the big one I get mixed up with Yellowstone, where we saw Kevin Costner. No, we didn't, but anyhow, it was really cool. So we're going to go to California, to our good buddy Gil, and Gil Zeimer has started this cool movement, and I got to say I really like it, and it's gonna take a few more years, but I'm pretty sure this is going to become something really big in our industry. So I'll let you bring them in there, Greg.
Absolutely. Yeah, page 30, celebrate Blue Friday 5.0 and leave Black Friday at the mall is the name of the latest article. So what's Blue Friday? How did it start, Gil? Tell us.
Well, thanks, and hello, everyone. I'm wearing black to mourn our fallen brothers. Getting all verklempt. Anyway, seriously, Blue Friday started 5 years ago when one of my dive buddies at Marin Scuba Club took his son diving the day after Thanksgiving instead of going shopping. His son just got certified. They went down to Point Lobos, Carmel, Monterey area, got in the cold water, but they loved it. And Ken said, I love this. Let's do it every year. So that year, there were a handful of divers, him and some buddies. The next year was like 10 divers. Last year, I think we had about 30 divers worldwide. And this year, hopefully, we're getting over the hump and getting more global recognition. Both through this article, I just aligned myself with Coral, the Coral Reef Alliance. They made a presentation to my dive club a few weeks ago. I followed up with them. I said, I want to do some pro bono writing for you. That led to an article that was published Tuesday in their newsletter worldwide about Blue Friday. They're endorsing it. And then yesterday, through a mutual friend of Coral's and mine in Roatan, Natalie Schumann, who we've had on the show, who has a PADI Eco Center, she hooked me up with two people from the Green Fins Initiative in Thailand, in the Philippines. And the three of us had a call last night, and they immediately started nodding their heads. They said, we love this for our 400 operators globally who are going to endorse it. So we're going to create a Blue Friday toolkit for them all to use. I'm going to write some subjects for titles for blogs and social media posts, and it's taking off. But if after this call, I'm going to send everyone a few emails or an email of what you can do to participate. Neil and Bimini, we need people. I don't have anyone in the Caribbean except for Roatan and Western Mexico. I don't have anyone in South America or Africa or Asia except for the Philippines. So I want to broaden our fin print worldwide this year and make it grow exponentially each year with going diving on the day after Thanksgiving. I can't go anywhere, but I'm going to drive 5 miles to my dive shop's pool and go diving that day.
Cool.
Jeff Bosnick's going to go in either LA or California or Florida, and I've got other friends going other places. So,
and he challenged Brett and I to get in our pool in November. November in Dallas. Okay. Neil,
here, though?
that's like going in the ocean in Fort Lauderdale in January. Okay, you understand.
I know. So everyone, go to your local pool, take a bath. Please I'll send an email, but please let me know if you're going to endorse it. If you are, send me an email beforehand so I can gather all that information. And then for the December issue of this magazine, I'll write a follow-up on how far our fin prints
Have
kicked.
gone.
All
That's
right.
great. Thanks,
Thank
Gil.
you.
Love it.
Always.
Love it.
And also thank you to a number of you who've written reviews for my book, which will be my story next month.
Yes, Gil has a book coming out. So
Wow.
now we've got Dan has published books. We've got Gil coming out with a book. Anybody else here?
I got
has
a
book?
police report. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay, that works. All right, so let's
Thank you.
keep on rolling.
Yes, Jeff Serapino.
Serapino,
There it is.
yes.
Rocky Hill, Connecticut, with us once again. Page 16, heading to DEMA.
The question's not correct, but the title is.
Wait, the title of the title is heading to DEMA. Here are some no-fail tips for retailers. And so, what do you got for us? What can you share at this point, Jeff, about that?
Hey, thanks for having me. And as always, Blue Friday sounds really great. You just hope that everybody who does Blue Friday remembers Small Business Saturday and heads over to the dive shop to fix all the gear.
Yeah.
they broke.
Does
Well
that make
said.
it Black and Blue Friday? I don't know.
There you go.
Maybe a little bit.
Blue and Black Friday.
Get that Small Business Saturday going. But anyway, DEMA's only, like we said, a month away, and it really is about planning your DEMA show. A lot of people just kind of show up sometimes, and 4 days goes by really quick, and you don't see what you wanted to see. You miss a presentation that you wanted to go to, or you didn't see somebody, or you didn't make that one party that somebody had. So planning for it is really, really essential. And DEMA has made it really easy to create a plan, and it's called the DEMA Show app. And if you're going to DEMA, you really have to download this app and use it because it's got some really cool features in it. And it just came back, it just came out. So if you've been waiting for it to drop, it did drop yesterday or the day before. I've been pinging on Tom and Nicole about when's it going to be here, and I finally told him, I said, I'm going on the show on Wednesday. I need to tell people what's up with the app, but it's out there and it's really cool. And it's got all the same features that it had before. And it really makes it, how you use it is up to you. But here's some ways you can start to build your schedule. What I like to do is first look at all the presentations that are out there. There's tons of them. So you can sort by category, you can look at them all, you can sort by day. And what if you just click on the and star it, it automatically adds it to your schedule. So you start to have a schedule. And then if you click one that says it's at the same time, it gives you an alert that there's a conflict. So you can then readjust your schedule. And remember, some of these presentations have multiple sessions. So if you don't see one, you might find it another day. So you can start to build your schedule around the presentations that you want to see. And then I know Tech is going to talk about a lot of the stuff around the reasons for attending DEMA, and some of those are to meet with your suppliers or your dealers or your vendors. So you'll want to make sure you have those appointments locked in and on your calendar, because there's nothing worse than going up to a booth, wanting to talk to somebody, and nobody's there to talk to you about what it is you want to the information you want to get. So you start putting that into your calendar. And then what I like to do is I like to go through the exhibitor list, and you just see it. There's 500, 600 exhibitors. There's everybody there. So you start to see, who are these guys, or what are they offering? Look at, there's links to their website so you can see what they do. And then boom, I star those guys so that I know that those are some people that I want to see when I'm at the show, and I can look at them and have them on my list. And when I'm done with meeting them, I just click off the star and I know it's done. And you can put notes in there so you don't have to fumble around with your notes on what the vendor said or anything like that. So it really is creating that plan so that when you go to DEMA, you have like Catherine mentioned, you need a map, you need a plan. Here's your plan for DEMA, so you get the best out of it. Now, don't forget, there's a lot of things in there. There's a lot of off-hour activities that happen that aren't in the DEMA app. You have to pay attention to your email that comes in from different organizations or different vendors or different areas that say, hey, we have a social going on at this time or this night. Some of that's not in the DMAP. You have to be careful checking your email, make sure that you see what's happening and when it's happening, and get those on your calendar. So DEMA's made it really cool with the DEMA app. The other thing is it'll ding you when something's happening, especially when happy hours are going on and stuff like that you don't want to miss. So go ahead and the DEMA app is like essential to me anyway. No more do we have to run around the floor with that paper trying to figure out where we're going and that sort of stuff and losing the paper. It's all on your phone. So that's my helpful tips for anybody going to DEMA to get ready to go. And I know Tech's going to talk about all the other great reasons why you need to be there.
Thanks, Jeff. That was great. Yeah, not only Tech, but David and Lily also wrote. So we had 3 articles this month on DEMA. Next month, we're going to have a few more too. But great subject and great take on that, Jeff. So, Greg, let's introduce writer number 5.
Yeah, well, it makes
Writers.
sense. You know, you're using the app to plan all your appointments. And when you're a retailer, a lot of the retailers across the country and around the world use DEMA as a time to set up the trips that they want to take their customers on throughout the year. So, yeah, David and Lily have focused on page 38, planning your DEMA show travel appointment. So what are some of the tips for retailers and planning appointments for booking travel? Lily, you up first? Or what do you
Yes.
think? Okay, go.
So we've attended 25, at least over 25 DEMAs to date. And so I remember the dates when we had the times when we had paper schedules and everything. And I have to say, we use the app all the time to do all our planning. So we're going to talk a little bit more about pre-planning with the app before you even go to DEMA. And so we do that to meet with our exhibitors and making sure that things get arranged ahead of time. David?
Well, since there's going to be about 5,000 diving professionals coming to the show just for a 4-day period, and you've got over 500, 600 exhibitors, of which about 100 are related to dive resorts, liveaboards, tourism organizations, and dive travel agencies. That's a lot to try to kick in there and try to catch it all in. If you're trying to get there and plan your dive trips. So that's what our article was about, is planning the dive trips, getting it set up. And if you're serious about getting that set up, then you need to have them give quality time so that you can meet the expectations of your clients. And without a prearranged appointment, the odds are very low that you're going to meet with the right people to negotiate the details for what your trips are going to be at the show.
Yeah, you're right. Now's the time to start booking up your calendar. I'm sure Tech's going to talk a little bit more about that too, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
And you see all the travel exhibitors, they already have brochures and pamphlets there with all their specials to pass out. And without the appointments, there's very little chance that you'll get the right people. But if you have the appointment, you can sit down with them, ask all the questions that you need, get information, that you need for the trip, the boat diving, accommodations, land excursions, etc. And most importantly, how to sell your trip, because the client, they want you to also come prepared with your trip to be able to sell and they'll provide all the selling points for you as well to make it very easier for you to fill up your trip.
Yeah, right. The only way to guarantee the meeting happens at the show is to schedule it in advance, like right now, so that your destination or travel agency can get you on their books and come actually prepared. Also for the meetings, because they already know now when you contact them what kind of trip you're looking for and the general time frame. And basically, if you're a retailer, you should have a feel of what the destinations your clients are seeking. So you can do research now on what agencies, travel agencies or destinations will meet those needs. And once you set up a list, then prioritize list, then start calling to make your appointments for the show. And once you get that set up, then use that app and put it on your schedule. And the app also has a map of the show floor too, so you don't have to get lost.
There you go.
Yeah, one more comment for retailers. If you're new out there and you use your first DEMA or first few DEMAs you've gone to, go to the show prepared to make deposits. You'll find the best deals usually of the entire year will either be now in the pre-DEMA specials or the at show. And many times some exhibitors, and especially travel, won't tell you. They'll save their at show specials for the show. And so come prepared, get your have your calendar organized, know what holes you need to fill, because that's the place to fill it. Right, David? Right, Lily?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks a million. I
Agreed.
appreciate it. Great series you've been doing. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we got Shelley Hendricks, page 42 in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, 10 Characteristics of a Great Leader. So as you just have a picture of Willie, Neil, Tech.
Yeah, I did. One of those applied to me. I'm a human. There we go.
Okay. All right. Well, Shelley, what do you got for us? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm often asked, are leaders made or are they born? Right? Are we born with leadership capability or is that developed? And the reality is both, right? We all have things that we're born with that can further be developed. And also we can learn these skills. So everything listed in this set of characteristics, the 10 that I've named in the article, are things that you might have naturally as a strength. And you can also take it to the next level. And so that's the work we do at Blue Horizon Solutions. So anyway, the 10, I'll give you highlights and you can read more in the article. But first of all, leading by example. Do you do the thing that you're expecting of the people around you, right? Leading by example. Taking responsibility is one of those characteristics of a great leader. These are things that differentiate good leaders from those who really are memorable, like the folks that we were remembering earlier today. Envisioning the future. If you really don't have a vision of the future, how can you lead people? So how can you expect people to want to follow? So envisioning the future. Creating a plan, as Catherine talked about also. Communicating effectively. So once you have that vision of the future and you have a plan in place, how well do you communicate it to those around you, the people who want to follow you perhaps, or don't know that they want to follow you? But how do you enlist those followers? Motivating your team. I talk to a lot of folks in the show floor around motivation and inspiration, which are these two, a couple of the characteristics as well. So motivating people, getting people to do the actions or do the work and level up their performance for the business as well. Developing talent. A lot of the conversations I have at the DEMA show are on succession planning and preparing the next generation of leaders for my business. How do I identify who are those leaders and things like that? So putting together a development plan for who are those up and coming leaders that might be generational leaders in the future. So I can help you put together a strategy around that as well. So once you have the team in place, you've motivated them, you're starting to develop their capability, are you inspiring confidence? How do you inspire people to feel good about, yeah, this is the right direction. This is a good direction for our business, and I want to be part of that. Right? So, and then of course, operating with integrity, in any corporate mission, vision, and values that I've ever seen written, integrity is one of those qualities that's almost always listed. It's not almost always embodied, but being able to operate with integrity and demonstrate that and being known as somebody who operates with integrity is a huge quality of a great leader.
Most of them I agree totally with the exception of the first one, because, you take someone like Neil Watson, and I respect him 110%, but there's no way in hell I'd do the crazy crap he's done.
You wouldn't
over there.
follow him to 437 on air.
Right.
That's awesome.
I used to have a tank sleeve.
Yeah.
And it said on it, if you can read this, you're too damn deep.
Right.
For anybody following.
437 feet on air.
All right. And the last one, which is kind of what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, well, and it's a good embodiment of it, right?
Yes.
Dealing with chaos. So this is one of those qualities that you may not recognize in yourself or others until you have lived experience with it, and that's that dealing with chaos, being sort of unflappable or unrattleable, if you will, in those moments when stuff hits the fan or things change on a dime or someone comes up to you and snags your secondary right. So what is it that help what do you do to handle when life is happening that is chaotic, markets change, you can't get the equipment in your shop that you need in a timeline, um, all of those things, funding might be limited, whatever the chaos looks like for you, who do you want to be in that chaos? How do you want to show up as a leader?
Those
So
are all
that's it.
great.
Yeah.
So I want to make a challenge to you. Use the app and book Catherine's seminars. They're fantastic business seminars. And same with Shelley. She has 3 planned. Dive deep in leadership development, which I think is fantastic. If I had time, I'd go to all 3 of these. Mentoring a talent strategy for your dive business and the art of the upsell. This is so important. We actually had Jen Adams, which is the manager of a scuba shop here in Frisco, Texas, wrote an article specifically about the art of upsell. And she didn't call it that, but she called it how that so many people come in that are dive shop employees have preconceived notions when someone walks in. We all do it, but you kind of, oh, that guy can't afford a $900 regulator. No way. And talking about how breaking those barriers. So I bet that's going to be a fantastic seminar. So use Jeff's advice, go to your app and book star those appointments so that you know when we're going to be coming up. So Greg,
Yeah.
now we go from sunny Arizona to beautiful North Florida.
Right.
Tech has had his own series of podcasts for years. I think you're probably one of the original podcasters in our industry. League of Extraordinary Divers, I think you called it, and then you have done some other ones. If you go to this website, Scuba Guru Academy, you can find a ton of his videos. But most interesting, Tech has authored an entire education course for the Divers Alert Network. And if you go through his course, you get a discount on your premiums for insurance. So it's really well done, Tech. And he took a tackle at, I'll let you bring him in there, Greg.
Well, page 34 in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, top 10 reasons dive pros should attend the DEMA show. So tell us what and why pros need to attend DEMA, Tech. We've covered some of the bases, but I know you have a few more.
Yeah. We all have our reasons, right? But, we've been in the industry enough that we've heard so many people that say, oh, I'm not going to go to the DEMA show. I can't afford it, or I don't want to leave my business behind. And, there's all these excuses. But there's a reason that most of us have been going for decades to the show, and it is the value. And when you start to do a cost value trade-off and relationship with it, I believe that the DEMA show is an exceptional value. And so when I kind of illustrate that out, I like to come up with a top 10 list that really just gets people to think about this differently. And so just a quick rundown of that list that just helps people to put this in a different perspective. Number 1, location. Now, it doesn't matter if it's Orlando like it is this year, or New Orleans or Vegas or whatnot. Getting away and getting out of the dive center actually puts you in a new frame of mind to start thinking things differently. You're not bogged down with all the things that go on every day, like you'd be watching YouTube videos on leadership or entrepreneurship. No, go there in person. And then, of course, you can have all kinds of fun in Orlando too, Disney, Epcot, Universal, whatever. Get in some nightlife while you're there as well. The number 9 thing I like is the resource centers that DEMA puts on. Resource centers are these areas that are just magnets for areas like photography, videography, technical diving. And I consider the author's corner actually a magnet too. That's just about like digging into areas of specialty. And so many people are in that now the booths line up around these resource centers and they actually have educational seminars on the show floor. I love the resource centers, and I think that's a big draw. Number 8 is the social events and parties. Yes, this could probably be number 1 on some people's lists.
Yeah.
Okay, mine. But I'm going to put it at 8 because, here's the big thing is that, yes, there's all kinds of stuff going on. We just talked about the memorial for Jerry. But you've also got the American Academy of Underwater Sciences, that beautiful gala that happens every year. We've got the Dan party, the Patty party, the SDI, TDI, PFI party. It just goes on and on. And so these are great opportunities to get off the show floor and then socialize. And if you really want to be crazy, go to the host hotel bar and have rum with Neil and Greg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, it'll be
I'll be
bourbon
there.
for me, just for the
And it
record.
gets ugly really fast. But anyhow,
That's great.
number 7 is DEMA sponsored seminars. This is where DEMA goes out, and so many people on here are part of the DEMA board or have been part of the DEMA board. And kudos to you for the committees that are put on to hire great teachers. These folks are individuals that might not even be in the diving industry, but they are experts in their field. And we've got people in business, in marketing, in social media, and on and on. And then we've even got the rock stars, some of which are on this call as well, that come in that are both on the diving side and on a specialty area. So those DEMA sponsored seminars are fantastic. And then you've got number 6, the exhibitor sponsored seminars. So all those 500 exhibitors that David was talking about, they have the opportunity to have some speaking time. This is where you can get a lot of info, especially if those booths are crowded. Go to one of their presentations. Do what Jeff was saying. Look up those seminars and put them on your schedule. They're really cool, and that's also where you're going to see dive training agencies doing a lot of their training in dedicated rooms as well. Booking dive travel, just like David and Lily were talking about. There's so many options there, and there's just aisles and pavilions of travel hosts and opportunities. So I love that. That's on number 5 on the list. Latest products is number 4. Yep, you've got those beautiful display cases that have the new products. Go check those out, and it tells you what booth to go to. And if you've heard of Avello, not all of us have been diving it like Dan Orr has. I think a few of you have too, right? But if you haven't ever seen this thing, it's there. Check it out, as well as everything else that's new. Then number 3, dive training agencies. This is where you get to meet all the people that are creating the books, materials, standards that are part of the agencies you belong to. And you can even learn about other agencies too and see who's doing what. So I love that. And then number 2, equipment manufacturers. Yep, they're there. Whether you're making your purchases at the show or not, this is still a great time to connect. And I think it's a wonderful thing to put your hands on products, new products, and then get to know your reps even better. And then the number one thing, this is the number one thing that has actually been a part of the DEMA surveys for decades. It is the number one reason people come to DEMA, and it is networking. And I concur. And the big thing is, the people that you will meet at the show will help you in this industry. You will grow, you will magnify your presence, and you'll get to know people, and you will have literally lifelong colleagues and friends just from the networking opportunity there at the show. So and that's the top 10. And
so one of
and
the
any
things
of them, any one of them is a great reason.
I'm going to go back to your number 2, your sales reps, developing a relationship with your sales rep. Many retailers don't realize they are probably the best resource you have, because there's nobody else that walks into your shop that has seen 500 shops in the last 3 to 5 years. I mean, there's some of them that have seen almost every shop in an entire region, and they see them multiple times a year. Talk about a resource if they can tell you what's working, what's not working, what Joe's doing down the street that's different from you. If you have that kind of relationship, they'll tell you. And a lot of people, they're not just a salesperson. They truly are a great resource. So I would love to figure out a way to get somehow closer. We've had a couple of reps on some more podcasts, and the information they can just talk about, Britain, is just amazing. They have an incredible depth of knowledge about retailing. So thank you, Tech. Great article.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then we're going to skip over back to the California coast for our last rider. Last but not least, I love this series that we've been doing. One of the very first issue that we published in January 2020, January of 2025. No, this is last year, was on how to utilize your resources in a dive shop to make money outside of diving, such as swim lessons. It sounds so silly, but there's so much money in that. Mermaiding was a big one too, and there's a lot of shops that have capitalized on that. And Gretchen's kind of come up with an idea that is really quite brilliant, because every dive shop either has access to a pool or has a pool. You can't hardly do it without it.
That's right.
So I'm going to let you bring her in, Greg, and introduce her.
She's a fitness guru kind of thing. Has that going on. Gretchen Ashton, page 19, creating a group fitness program for your store. I mean, because a wetsuit will only suck in so much. You got to do a little bit more than that, right, Gretchen?
It does help a lot.
And you can make money with it if you're a retailer, if you put a program in place. And that's what your article's about?
Yes. Hi, guys. Group fitness for the dive center kind of happens in two ways. One, you can host an activity that involves a group of people all exercising at the same time. You can do it in your pool, or you can do it in a classroom setting, but also group fitness can tie into your group travel. So if you have a trip coming up in a few months and you have a group of people who are getting together to get acquainted and plan the trip, and you have a few months to work with, you can bring them together for an exercise program that's designed specifically for the destination that they're traveling to. And you can motivate them to be more prepared for that trip. And at the same time, create a fitness culture, a sense of community, a connection between those folks that are going to be traveling together. So how to make money doing that was one of the big questions. And that is simply, bring in fitness professionals and lease out your pool to that person. If you want to teach, have aquatics classes in your facility, handle it the same way you would swimming lessons. If you want to team up with a local gym and a local personal trainer, you can have them come in. But I have an even better way yet, because Scuba Fit is a distinctive specialty. And what we want to do is teach divers how to have a fitness lifestyle so that they can create longevity for their diving lifestyle. And so Scuba Fit has made it quite affordable to have an instructor take the course, one time take the course. $249 is what it costs, and they get a complete teaching kit. They commit about 10 hours to teaching the class. The ratio is about a 1-to-8 ratio of students to instructor. And the instructor can charge whatever they want to their clients for that Scuba Fit specialty. So they can charge the same amount, $249, or they can package it with other specialty courses to create value. And in the process, the instructor gets all this great health and wellness information for themselves. And then the instructor role models it for their diving clients. The shop makes money, and there's no overhead for the dive boat. You don't even have to get in the water, but your divers will be safer in the water. They're going to be more likely to advance their training. And they're also going to be they're going to dive more often just because they're fit and they feel good. And so how
use
do you
less air too?
Use less air.
Yes, they'll use less air. That's part of the sort
Look
of
better in a Speedo or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and then maybe we'll talk about this in the future, William. There's ways to reinforce that. Once you have your divers certified with the Scuba Fit specialty, then how do you keep them going? How do you motivate them? And so Scuba Fit has some models for incentive programs too that tie back to the equipment side of the shop.
So I'm going to add to what Gretchen's saying. This article stemmed from a conversation we had on the phone. And I said, if I had a dive shop and I had a pool and I had a group of 20 going to Australia or the Maldives or something like that, and we had a nice long lead time, wouldn't it be cool to put together a twice a week workout that you did in the pool leading up to that trip. So everybody, number one, gets to know each other. So it becomes very social. But two, they're going to be in better shape for the trip itself. And that's kind of what started this whole concept. So next month, she's writing a wonderful article with the assistance of Gil on how dive computers measure your underwater activity. Because it's very different, called wearables. So interesting, and other types of wearables that you can wear in the water to gauge your underwater fitness. So thank you, Gretchen. Great series, innovative stuff, and you're not new to the business, but a lot of dive shops don't know about how to utilize their resources in something like that. I guarantee that probably the average dive shop, out of a 12-hour day, their pool sits empty for 9.
Right. I wanted to just share quickly. I think Tech is one of the early folks that completed the Scuba Fit specialty. So he's a Scuba Fit instructor. And also we have a new gal who completed the course out of Florida in the Tampa area. If divers are looking for an instructor that has already certified in the Scuba Fit course because they'd like to participate in it, we have a directory of instructors around the country and around the world, actually.
Very great.
Excellent.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Well, next up, Willie, wait, you got a from the publisher thing.
So this is me. Actually, and I have 2 or 3 things, but I'm going to make it really brief because we're right on time, actually, believe it or not, everybody. But one of my other cowboy hats I wear here in Dallas is I'm executive director for the Cayman Islands International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame. And I started last year as my first year, and this is the first class that I was involved on the induction process. And I talked to the Bahamas government, and they were absolutely game for inducting an all-women class this year. So I'm very honored that we were able to induct the Women Divers Hall of Fame, which was represented by Mary Conley and Bonnie Toth, Michelle Cove, which was Stuart Cove's ex-wife, of course, Ann Hassan, which Ann and Wayne originally started Aggressor, that now, of course, is run by Wayne Brown, and Rosalind Lunn out of the UK, which she is the Michael of the UK. She was such an early pioneer in tech. She had her own tech conferences in the UK, and most people don't even know she exists in our industry. And yet she is just an absolute pioneer. She is the only woman, I believe, that works for health and safety in the government that monitors diving for the military. So anyhow, those 4 women received it. There was 4 local honorees that were Cayman people. Thank you. They all deserve a round of applause. It was wonderful. And applause to the government for taking a bold step like that and making a statement. The early pioneer is a woman that's been overlooked in almost all of our history in the dive industry. And it was actually the very first woman scuba diver. Can anybody guess who that is? Jacques Cousteau's first wife.
Okay.
Simone
Really?
Cousteau.
It was Simone, huh?
Okay. And Jean-Michel delivered a beautiful, unfortunately he wasn't able to attend, but a note that was read by Stephen Broadbelt, the chairman of the board for the Hall of Fame. And he verified what I suspected, because Jean-Michel had written a book called, if you want a great read, it's called My Father the Captain. And it is an autobiography basically of his life. And the most fascinating part is talking about the early years in Marseille. When his dad would come home from the Navy from work, they had 4 sets of this new aqualung thing he invented. And for the afternoon activity, the family would walk out of the backyard, down the steps to the ocean, to the Med, and they would go diving. First diving family, first diving woman, first diving kids, everything was Jacques Cousteau's children and wife. So she was honored as early pioneer, which completed the all-women class for 2025. So that's a great article. It's in the magazine. I read a few other articles too in there. There's a great from the publisher, and there's a business article about, I'm doing a series on comparing marine life to business principles and practices. So we've covered sharks this month. We've done turtles, and this month is octopus. We've done a bunch of different ones. So we're continuing this month with it was turtles, I think it was. Yeah. Anyhow, that's all I got, Greg. I mean, it's going to be it's a great issue. It's bigger than our normal issue.
Jam-packed.
We're on the way to DEMA. The DEMA issue, as Britton says, comes out at the end of the month, right before the DEMA show. There'll be a printed show directory in there. There'll be a bunch of seminar lists. And of course, we will have all of our writers that have any kind of seminars. We're going to list them as well. So anybody have any closing comments, since it's kind of a semi-serious podcast, because we started out talking about some industry greats that we lost. Anybody else have any comments they'd like to close with?
Gil, what do you got?
Well, it's a comment to Shelley about leadership, but the opposite of leadership is mediocrity. So there's a famous quote by Joseph Heller, who wrote Catch-22, and I love it. It said, "Some men are born mediocre, some achieve mediocrity, and some have mediocrity thrust upon them."
Oh, there you
That's
go.
great. I do want to mention next month we have, has anybody here ever heard of Little Corn Island? You hadn't. You have.
Nope.
David, okay, you're the only person. I've never heard of it my entire life. It's an island off the coast of Nicaragua. It's supposed to have some of the best diving in the Caribbean practically, and you've never even heard of it. So Carlos Landers wrote an article about that. Dan's continuing his series looking at nitrox diving, which is going to be interesting. Al Hornsby, just such a great guy in our industry, is continuing his. He writes these 500-word articles that could be turned into a book, every one of them. And because he spent his entire life at Patty dealing with litigation, he has all these stories of what not to do. And it's so incredibly incredible what he's writing about. David and Lily about why fam trips are important. We have a new writer that wrote on photo tips for pros that go on liveaboards, Richard Aspinall. Got a new writer from the owner of Dive Planet down in Australia on a great southern Great Barrier Reef guide for dive retailers. Wayne Brown's going to service on customer service, and then a whole bunch more. So it's going to be our biggest issue of the year. And again, thanks to all of you for making that happen. And anybody, go see these people. They're all going to be at DEMA for the most part. Come to 9:35. It's going to be the writers can hang out there as much as they want. There'll be free beer. There'll be free wine. There'll be free sandwiches. No, just kidding. But anyhow, we're going to be there. So
don't be late, because each morning the show opens at 10 a.m.
Oh, and go to Greg's warm up every
That's
morning
right.
at 9:30. We're going to be
giving
doing a little segment.
A crap load of stuff this year.
Ton
once
of stuff
again.
this year. It's unbelievable. He's got prizes and liveaboard stuff and
you name it,
unbelievable
we got it.
gear, everything. And we're going to be doing a little kind of recap every day. Britton's going to be shooting it. Britton and my youngest June are going to be there at the show. So we're going to have the whole on the road production crew there. And so see his warm up. It's great.
It's a good time. Good to connect with people in the dive industry. That's what DEMA's all about. On that note, we will wrap it up. And make sure you check out Scuba Radio every Saturday, 3 to 5 Eastern time. Till next time, remember, it's always better
down
where it's wetter.
There it is.
Okay.
This has been Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Produced by Scuba Radio and the Klein Group. For more info, go to ScubaDivingIndustry.com.